Okay, good afternoon and welcome every single body, guys. I am absolutely loving this chat. Before we've even got started, you guys know what it is all about. Guys, welcome to Dollars for Lunch. Welcome to our New York Stock Exchange live open. So just a massive shout out to everybody in the group: Lizzo, Sylvester, Tumelo, Joseph. There's so many people in the groups that are busy speaking to me directly. So I have shared my Telegram private link, my private username on Telegram. So for those of you who would like to message and ask questions to me directly, you're more than welcome. Please just bear in mind, I've received about 100 messages in the last hour. So if I take some time to reply, please. It's not that don't want to reply. If you see me online and I'm not replying, I'm just getting through all the messages. The team will grab my phone, reply to some of you when necessary. Now, guys, we get a lot of questions about personal mentorship. We get a lot of questions about signals. We get a lot of questions about account management. What you need to understand is that we are going to be doing a lot of changes in the next week. So if you have a Globex 360 live account, we will be emailing you a link to a separate Telegram group that will be for live accounts only. And this is where we're going to be sending trade opportunities on a daily basis. This will also be an opportunity where we can engage in a more meaningful manner that will correlate towards personal mentorship. Now, also in addition to that, every Friday, if you guys have your live accounts, I'll be spending time with you on a Zoom call to look at the week, to look at your trades, and to look at where we can make subtle improvements. Now, we are going to announce what those barriers are, what type of account you need to have in order to qualify for that, as well as copy trade. We get a lot of questions about copy trade. For those of you who know and understand what 360 Capital is, our sister company, copy trade already is existing and set up there, and we are bringing it very, very soon to Globex 360. So I hope that answers a couple of the most common questions that we get. I think I've got about 30 questions in those same terms, and yeah, some massive things coming your way very, very soon. Now, guys, just a massive shout out to everybody in the chat. That is what it is all about. Welcome, Heavenly Defended, all the way from Germany. Goodwin, yes, again. Solomon, welcome. We have Bonacile, we have Lizzo, we have Chippo, we have Lana, we have Abel. Guys, welcome. This is how we do things. And the chat, when you guys are engaging, it makes being with every single one of you guys so much more meaningful. And again, like I've said, this channel is by traders for traders. This is your home. This is your channel. You see what comes out of this channel is what you want out of it, right? So when you guys are engaging, when you guys are talking, when you guys are doing your thing, this is your home, and we're going to grow this into one of the biggest trading communities, the biggest trading families within Africa. I want you to go ahead and do me a favor right now. We are about 8 minutes away from the New York Stock Exchange. If you're watching me via YouTube right now, I want you to take this link. I want you to you just look below the video. There's that share button. Don't be selfish. There's people out there that have been dreaming and waiting for an opportunity like this. This doesn't happen very often. There's a reason people don't trade and stream live, right? There's complexities. There's a whole lot of knowledge that's needed over and above everything else. So let's share the love. Take and share this link with somebody, just one random person that you know may require or may find value in this. And let me know. Just hit done. Drop that in the comments for those of you who want to share the love and spread the love across the board. Let me know about that. Just drop that into the comments. Now, we are going to be doing a ton of things together this afternoon, and most importantly, we're going to be jumping into some live trading. Now, we are going to quickly speak about the news because it is relevant. We had that whole discussion. We've obviously also had some EU and pound discussions that have obviously also been happening. We're going to have a look at some of those effects on the market, and as well as what we're going to be trading live this afternoon. So I think without further ado, let's quickly give it a look, and we can just better understand where it is we are busy going in the next little bit. Okay, so I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is let's just have a look at some of the main articles. Now, we're not hearing anything about Powell. We're not hearing a ton about anything happening in the EU, even though we could all clearly see there was some volatility in the markets. We could clearly see markets were moving quite dramatically, and we saw increased volume in addition from that yesterday's market move. So Again, we're going to have to try and find the data to obviously have a look at where these volumes or where these things are coming from. But ultimately, from a news perspective, we aren't seeing a whole ton. So let me quickly share my screen with you guys. You can see what I'm busy talking about. So obviously the focus of the day was going to be obviously Lagarde that spoke at 1:30, as well as Powell that also spoke at 1:30. We're not seeing a ton there from a data perspective that gives us any sort of indication that Powell is changing his tone or that Lagarde is offering the markets any hope in terms of recovery. If anything, we're starting to hear and basically see that both the reserves of most first world countries, the reserve banks of most countries, have come to the fact and have come to their senses that recession is under play. Recession is busy happening. There's no more denial about soft landings and it might not end up happening. That tone has not changed. So we need to come to the fact and face the fact the recession is on its way. It's here. It's coming. What we're looking for is some sort of light at the end of the tunnel in terms of where they think that this could potentially go. And I don't think they're going to offer an answer that markets are going to accept almost immediately. I think we're more than likely going to see that data come from the charts, and price action is going to be that first indicator that shows us where that recovery or what markets essentially want to translate this information to long term. And remember, markets don't care about what's happening today. And I think that's what we must just understand before we get into this live trading session together. Markets really do not care about today's events, right? In terms of this is what was said, this was done. Markets and hedge funds and big money is looking at the next quarter, looking at the next 4, looking at the next 2 years, right? And you need to understand that. So even if economic data is bad, even if situations are sitting is in essence upside down completely, right? We need to understand that big money is looking long term, and big money is taking long-term data to look at the trend of where we're going. Topsy saying Powell was speaking about decentralized finance. And we saw some volatility on the cryptos, right? For those of you who've been watching Bitcoin, Ethereum, we saw some volume there, but again, not really changing anything from our basic price action that we've been discussing over the last week. So thank you for that adding in there, Topsy, appreciate it. Keegan, Tobias, welcome to the stream. Beautiful guys, glad you are loving the live streams. That is what it is all about. So again, just to recap, we need to start looking longer term. We need to take in the data. Data's great, but we need to consider and start looking more at the long-term effects. So that's what we're going to be jumping into, and that's essentially what we'll be focusing on this afternoon. Now, first and foremost, before we jump in, guys, I'm not seeing anybody has shared that link. Sio Zwane in Mpumalanga, you're not sharing love in Mpumalanga. What's going on? Guys, I want to see that link being shared, and I want you to comment done once shared. It is super important, right? There might be one person that you share this link with that has been looking for years. Let me tell you this. I wish 6, 7, 8 years ago, something like this existed for me as a trader. That would have been an absolute dream come true. I can guarantee you there are people out there that have been dreaming to better understand the markets, better interpret the markets, and have access to a live type facility within half a second, 2 seconds, have access to real-time information, real traders discussing real issues, making real money. Again, I know that's something I would have wanted, was praying for actually many, many years ago. It's here today. Share the love. Don't be selfish. You're here already. You're good. You're covered. There's other people out there that aren't. So we are going to look at helping and spreading the love together. Beautiful. So let's jump straight in. We're going to have a look immediately, and we're going to quickly have a look at what's happening on the dollar before we have about a minute to jump into some indice trading this afternoon. So let's get in it together. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to be quickly having a look at the dollar index this afternoon. Again, we're starting to see asymmetrical type formation here. So dollar index is really telling us that it is stuck in a state of indecision, right? We can clearly see that. Indecision, doesn't know where it wants to go, break higher, break lower. This is the moment that we need to really start looking at the dollar and where it wants to move next, because the ripple effect will be on crypto. The ripple effect will be on commodities, indices, and across the board. So we really want to start paying attention to the dollar. The interest rate that we saw last week had the opposite effect that it has shown us over the past data. So we want to obviously pay attention to that. But before I get carried away and before we start looking at too many things, we're going to close down pretty much everything here, and we're going to pay attention to indices this afternoon and just map out what it is we want to see happen here, right? And we obviously want to be prepared for some moves here. So we starting with US30 on the left hand side, we have Nasdaq in the center, as well as German 30 on the right hand side. And what we want to do is we just want to get some basic price action on these market structures. Let's quickly get it going. And so we can see some market structure here, right, on US30. Ideally, you know, that was the initial break. This afternoon, or this morning rather, we were talking about that push to the top side. We did get it, but we got rejected, and we're starting to see we rejected off that 6-month 17th of June low resistance, right? Now again, we're getting this initial push to the downside, but we don't have a ton of data here to show us where this market bottom could potentially end up being. On a 15-minute, right, we do know where that support might end up being, specifically on US30. Again, I'm really looking for long positions here. I'm not really too interested in shorts right now on indices, and people are saying, but Dane, why not? You know, indices are falling, markets are crashing. Why aren't you shorting out this market? Again, past data just doesn't support a short in this type of economic environment. Now, again, we've never seen economic environments like this before, right? So it's not crazy to assume that things can change. For sure, my sentiment and my long-term position still stays the same. So again, what I'd like to see here, we've looked at the 15-minute before. Again, this is that breakout and that retest, right? We've got this diagonal on 15 US30 breakout. We hit that 6-month, right? We'll hit that 17th, I believe, 17th of June. Once was support, now resistance. The big question on indices is now going to be, you can see we got some price action, some tweezers there over the last 4-hour candles. But the big question now for this afternoon is going to be, are we going to find support and are we going to push through, right? I'm not looking at scalping. I'm not looking at guessing a trade. I'm not looking at pulling a trigger. I'm looking for a break to the downside, I will short. I'm looking for a break to the top side, I will buy. Very, very simple price action setup for this afternoon. Similar thing, we will monitor and have a look at what is happening across the board on Nasdaq. We'll also pay close attention to what's happening on US30. Nasdaq definitely showing signs towards a top side, right? We've seen this yesterday too. Nasdaq was pretty much the only good performer yesterday afternoon. Very happy for a top side run yesterday on Nasdaq. Again, we want to obviously just see, are we going to start to get through yesterday's New York Stock Exchange high? That is essentially what we want to make sure we get through. Yes, guys, so everybody knows, if you can go ahead and smash that like and subscribe button, it does a ton for the channel. As always, you guys know what it is all about. Go ahead and do that on your side. Make sure you share the love. So we are going to quickly do a 30-second intermission. I want you guys to go ahead and quickly watch what ends up happening on that US30. Please give it a quick look. I quickly want to have a look here what we're going to do, but give me about, I would say, 30 seconds, and we're going to jump straight back in to carry on with our live trading session. So 30 seconds, I'll see you guys in a bit, and we'll jump straight back in. we go. Back, quick 30-second battery change. Nothing like running around with batteries mid-trading. Beauties of live trading, that's what it's all about. Timeline has reset and will reset because we obviously want to keep it down to 15 minutes in the future. So ignore the timeline down below. I'm not going to remove it. I'm just going to allow it to run. But we are this afternoon still looking for that pop and that break on the markets, specifically on indices. So again, NASDAQ really looks like it wants to beat out yesterday's essential, I'd say, New York Stock Exchange open high. And we will obviously pay close attention to that break, right? Just from a basic price action perspective, we are looking for if NASDAQ will break yesterday's afternoon high. German 30, giving it a look on a 1 minute time frame. Let's quickly have a look on 15. Okay, so really quickly, we have some basic market structure here now. This is taking a few liberties, right? And even so, right, very messy resistance level. So I wouldn't call this, rule of thumb specifically on German 30, but we are definitely trending downwards, right? There's no doubt about that. 15 minutes will give a fairly clear indication of what that looks like, but we are trending downwards. We're well aware of that. We know where the markets are at, but again, I'm still holding on to that potential long opportunity. I think that is where markets want to take us. I think that's where markets want to show us where they want to end up going. So we're going to keep looking at that this afternoon. We essentially want to wait for that pop and see what we end up getting specifically on US 30. So again, we're getting a nice bounce, right? Again, at the start of every New York Stock Exchange, we do see that temporary volume in one direction or another, right? That's obviously that temporary volume that comes in, temporary volume that essentially causes a bit of a mess in the markets. Now, as I've shown you guys, never jump into that temporary move. We obviously want to have a look at what is going to be the ultimate long-term setup here. So again, can you guys see here on the RSI, we're getting this break, and I don't want to miss this like we've missed on other days. We're getting that little pop to the top side. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is I'm going to put in that feeler position on US 30 long. I would ideally like for that little break of resistance there. So I'm buying into resistance. So please remember, just from a pure price action perspective, you don't always want to be buying into resistance. But again, look at that RSI pop break top side. Yesterday I was busy speaking while that was happening, and so that pop moved without me taking it. So this afternoon I'm not going to hesitate. I've got a trailing stop of 1,000 points over there, which is 100 pips, and we're already moving into profit as we speak right now. So again, bounce off that 15-minute support there, and yeah, we're good to go. US 30 rising nicely. We are currently trading at about 400 pips of profit on that feeler position. So there's 400 pips made right there. Really, really quickly, as I've taught you guys, RSI pop top side. Indice up will mean dollar losing a little bit of value. But again, I'm not too interested. That 400 pip trade is closed right there, ready with a trailing stop. So 400 pips done, banked, finished, end of story. Really quick trade, nice quick profits. Ultimately, again, like I said, I'm not looking to scalp this, right? Making some quick profit, that's cool. I'll reinvest that 400 pips into a break of that 100% move there, right? Again, I really am looking at a long-term buy on US 30. I would like to see a pop and break of that 16th, 17th of June low, right? For those of you who know what that is, 16, 17 June low is the worst 6 months that we've seen in the indices market, stock market across the board. I believe for the last, I don't want to misquote you, but it's a good 20 years or something crazy like that, right? So again, that's abnormal. Looking at the past data, we've always seen interest rate increasing in a recession, post-recession, you name it. Interest rate increases, indices perform extremely well. We see the dollar fall in value. Currently, the dollar is absolutely dominating. The data is on another level, but absolutely dominating. And stock markets are not doing great. So I'm looking at the reversal. I'm seeing the past data. And again, I want you to think about it like this, right? If you look at a recession, right? If you look at all the past recessions we've had, right? and you've got big full-blown recessions, and you've got these slightly smaller pullbacks which are recessions, right? Look at the dot-com bubble, right? The dot-com crisis, that was a full-blown recession, yet it's not counted as biggest recession in past history, but yes, it was past pre-2007 2008. These things happen and continue to happen in a cycle, right? If you go and have a look at the last 100 years, there's been 20, 30, 40 recession. So the data is there and the data repeats itself. So right now, what I'm looking for is not to scalp. Yes, we've made a quick 400 pips in a couple seconds, but ultimately what I'm looking for here is that break of that 6-month low on US30. And again, this could be a monster trade, and that's what I'm really looking for. Right, here is US30 over the past, looks like about 3 years here, right? The start of the pandemic, we have a massive pullback. We currently trading under that massive low there. That level there constitutes and represents a massive support / resistance, right? Which is what we want to break and what we want to beat. Again, as I said this morning when we were talking in the pounds for breakfast setup, for those of you who traded USD ZAR, right? If you traded USD ZAR, let me know. Aslam, how you doing? My brother, Darlene Shaw, thank you for sharing. Peter van Beek, well done. And Peter, thank you for sharing. Lana, you guys are absolutely amazing. I actually didn't see these comments, guys. I apologize. You've done your side. Powell's only talking about shared, done. Guys, for those of you who shared, massive love. Massive love. I love you guys. Okay, we spoke about this morning. Again, we could see that, you know, the central bank meetings could give some positive, you know, about the markets. Again, any sort of positivity about the markets, we need to almost see as the opposite effect on the dollar. Positive data, dollar starts to correct. We see a little bit of a fall in the dollar, indices rise. That fall in the dollar, right, could mean that USD ZAR could get a little bit stronger, and the price action supported a USD ZAR potential short. For those of you guys who set up your pending orders with me on USD ZAR, right, we set up those pending orders. I took profit on those 3 lots that we placed as a pending order, and you guys should already and still be in profit as we speak. We're below that 78.6. Price action supports a further move to the downside, again with a take profit even as far as that 17 rand to the dollar move. So if you're in that trade with me in terms of the pending order, you should already be in profit on that one as well. Nice little investment type position to the downside we can potentially take advantage of together. But ultimately, we want to jump into and catch these bigger indices moves. So I'm going to continue looking at US30 and I'll hold on for this one for a little bit. And we are pushing into the zone we want to be in. All right, so let's quickly have a look at what else is happening in the market. NASDAQ pushing top side. This is good, right? I want to just see US30 break that mark. And let's see what German 30 is doing. Let's have a look here. I've lost my German 30. Where is she? Get our German 30 chart. There we go. There we go. Okay, let's quickly have a look at what German 30 is busy doing. Let's give it a quick look. I do believe we should start popping through. So German 30 might not follow suit, and I don't have a big issue with that. I'm mostly concerned about essentially NASDAQ as well as US30 breaking that ceiling. Now again, something else we just want to pay attention to here quickly is, again, we are at resistance. So for those of you who are short sellers, for those of you who really enjoy the scalping, for those of you who want to scalp the downside move, no issues there at all. There's always good money involved in scalping. I just, again, prefer the longer term moves, specifically from the fact that we, you know, essentially broke that longer term 15-minute structure, hit resistance, done a successful retest. I would love to see a push through the top side on US30 this afternoon, but it is what it is. We're going to allow it to do what it has to do. We're not going to force anything. We're not here to predict or force trades. Looking at Euro USD again, as I said this morning, we're not completely fully at support at this one. We do have a bigger structure at play here. The dollar euro parity is completely destroyed, and the euro essentially is trading at €1 essentially purchases $96, and it looks like 37 pips. So the euro definitely in troubled waters here. Again, I think another good indication of what we can watch is watch that dollar index, and essentially if you see a break above the 114 level, 114, I'd say 114 flat, anything over 114, we may have to really then just consider and maybe deal temporarily with the fact or the potential reality that the dollar is absolutely smashing the markets, and we might just have to accept that, right? I'm struggling with that notion for the current time being, but we may have to move into reality where we do face that. Now, before I speak about the next item I wanted to chat about, I just want to make sure I do have some alerts here really quickly, just for the reason being that if we make a pop, I don't want to be speaking and miss that. And I think let's go ahead and do this. So for those of you who would like to go through this exercise with me, I don't want to miss this one. So I'm going to catch this one from a breakout perspective, right? We know that 100% level, again, if you're trading with another broker and you're getting crazy 1 to 100 contracts where 0.01 could blow $1,000 account, right? These levels are not for you because they're giving you some otherwise crazy levels. But if you're trading with the longest established broker in Southern Africa that is regulated across the board, then the numbers I'm giving you is correct. And you know who I'm speaking about, obviously, that's Globex 360. So I'm looking at I'm looking at a buy stop. I'm not going to be doing any limit orders in terms of pullback and activation and longs, but I would be looking for buy stops. And the level that I'm going to be looking at, specifically if you have a Globex 360 live account on US30, is I'm focusing at that breakout of the $29,690 mark, right? There is a psychological level at the $29,700 level. So for those of you who'd obviously want to look for that, I would start looking at buy stops above that level. And because we have some market structure ranging to the top side, we can utilize that as a safeguard for our stop losses. What do I mean about that? What I mean is that we have this rising structure. If we pop above that 6-month low, which is now resistance 1 support, then I would essentially utilize this diagonal, or you could utilize the 500 period moving average, but ultimately I would utilize this diagonal to essentially set up my stop. So for this particular case, I'd like to be below previous resistance, so R2 in this case, and I'd like to have a stop loss at 29,643 is where I'd essentially. Now, if you are obviously doing your risk management in a different manner, you obviously want to first measure that. So what I generally do and tell people from a risk management perspective is place yourself a standard lot, right? Again, if you with Globex, it's a 1-to-1 ratio on indices, right? So you can open with a $100 account, you could probably trade a standard lot, right? But open up a standard lot pending order, drag your stop loss to a level, and look at what that value is, right? Look at what that value is from a pip count perspective, and that'll give you an indication as to what your risk is. So again, if you're a $100 account, you want to be risking 3% of your account, you only want to have a stop loss of $3, right? So if you see your stop loss is $60, just understand you're going to have 2 trading days, you're going to blow that account. Just FYI on risk management. Those of you who know or don't know that. In any event, right, we're going to wait for this pop towards the top side. Again, as we saw yesterday, we might only see massive volumes come in to the 4-5 o'clock range in terms of 4-5 p.m. GMT +2. But I think a pending order for me is going to be the way to go in terms of long-term move. I have plans for this afternoon, so I won't be able to watch this. And that is the beauty of trading, right? The opportunity that you can sit, analyze, look at the markets, set up some pending orders, walk away from it, and allow those markets to run. And the next question would obviously then be, well, then, where would we consider taking profit? Should a pop happen, right? Where would be the zone that we would essentially start looking to start taking out some profit? So the most obvious level we would essentially want to watch here is obviously this longer term market structure, right, which we've essentially broke already on a 15. The next immediate structure is going to be two-sided, right? So we're going to look at both these resistance levels above us, right, as well as the next fib levels above us. So again, we push through the 88.2, push through the 100. Does that mean that they're invalid? No, those levels are still there, right? Markets have created a bear trap towards the downside, right? So these levels, these fib levels are 100% valid. You can see how markets have respected Fibonacci, right? So we will still utilize them on the way up as well as down. So the first TP, right, I would essentially utilize this resistance, this diagonal here, and I would say, you know, our first take profit here would need to be, in essence, at this diagonal. So I'd be looking for about, let's see, let's measure this quickly. So I would essentially look to take profit around about 2,500 pips north. Second take profit, I would lock in at 5,000 pips square, and then thereafter I'd leave the third position open with a trailing stop of about, I would say at least 10,000 points, right, which is 1,000 pips. Just allow it to do its thing in range. So that's what we're going to leave there. Now we're getting a little bit of a pullback here on indexes. So let's just quickly have a look here. If there will be a potential short opportunity for US30 or Dow this afternoon. Because again, if we fail to make this now to the top side, we've made a retest. This is the second retest. We failed to break out to the top side. We might have to accept the possibility that, you know, indexes want to fall. And again, this is why I don't have much interest in scalping these really tiny micro movements. Some of you guys do, and I've seen guys that absolutely dominate with that. It's not my trading style. I have a life, got things to do. So yeah, just not for me. But some of you guys, I've seen you guys perform, and I've seen some of you guys as traders absolutely smash it. Us 100% on Brent. Listen, guys, you know, there was a point of time Brent was sitting at, you know, $20 a barrel. I don't know if you guys remember this. This was 2020. Brent was sitting $20 a barrel. Brent was sitting negative per dollar of barrel. I think it was 2020, if I'm not mistaken, right? You know, when things are low, those are opportunities to buy, right? Smart money buys things at low prices, at discounted prices. That's why in recessionary periods, the wealthiest people in the world make more money, right? That's what it's all about. So yeah, in terms of Brent, let's quickly have a look, give you a more specific answer as opposed to just speculation. Let's quickly set up this guy over here. I just like to put an alert, right? When I get into some of these other topics, it's very easy to lose track and forget about what it is we're doing. Yeah, so Brent is actually sitting in a really good position, right, from a support perspective, right? If we have a look, we have two market structures on Brent, and I've, you know, discussed this in previous sessions, but ultimately we've got this massive diagonal here, right? And maybe for those of you who haven't traded a lot in Brent, please, I would consider start paying a little bit more attention to Brent, start paying a little bit more attention to silver. Joseph sent me a screenshot of his silver position. I think Joseph, when was it, 2-3 days ago, said, you know, I'm seeing the structure again, symmetrical triangle, right? Potential break to the downside. He said, is this risk correct? I said, my brother, that looks beautiful. Pending order is the way to go, Joseph, and you're killing it, right? Caught that whole silver move. So big moves in silver, big moves in commodities. Brent is definitely where you want to have a bit more focus. If you guys aren't into those asset classes, maybe it's time to diversify. Maybe it's time to start looking at some other items here. Let's get focused really quickly. Looking at this on a 4-hour time frame, right? I just want to make sure the market structure is clean. Yeah, my market structure is clean, really clean. Okay, so my market structure is really looking good on Brent, and I would follow this green market structure that I have behind, right? Ignore this bigger blue level. Yes, I do think, you know, we could potentially go there, but I would basically focus on this lime green. I know lime green is not great to look at if you're watching on a phone, so let me try and spring green. I'm just gonna make it thicker. I don't know if that helps. Can you guys see this market structure? This is 4 hours. This is Brent. and we are fairly zoomed in, so I can zoom out a little bit. So again, for those of you who know, 1 day time frame, right? Brent has been in this massive bull run. There we go. There's the 2020 low that I was talking about, right? There's the $20 sitting behind my head. So when Brent was sitting at $20, I did a live and I said, guys, listen, Brent is sitting $20. That's not $20 per barrel imported, right? There's a whole bunch of other costs associated. Brent was actually trading in a negative. I think it was WTI and crude that was trading at a negative in 2020 at that particular time. And I said, guys, there's no better time to get into oil, right? I remember somebody commenting on live and saying future of oil is over. We're moving to renewable energy. No issues. The world still needs oil. Like, the world still runs on oil, right? If it's in a negative pricing, could it go to zero? Yeah, sure. Could Bitcoin go to zero? Possible. But the reality is that, when prices are low, that's when the best time it is to buy. Okay. So getting a little bit more specific about Brent, because I'm getting excited about that other move over there. Yeah, I think this green market structure is good. Brent is certainly almost like a symmetrical triangle, just the opposite way around, right? So lower lows, higher highs, and in essence, right, this is the opposite of a symmetrical triangle that comes to an apex, right? All this is going to end up doing now is essentially testing the waters, and we essentially are looking for breakouts at resistance or breakouts at support, right? When you see that type of formation, you can't treat it like a symmetrical triangle, whereby, as an example, right, in this situation here, right, we're essentially just waiting for price to get to the apex, right? Let's say that was the situation. We're simply waiting for price to get closer to the apex, and that is where low highs, high lows essentially meet at a point of breakout. Market makes a decision. We see a move. We can't treat it like that. We literally have to just look for breakouts of higher highs, a breakout of low lows. But yes, in terms of just from a price action perspective, Brent looks like it's a good buy up until about $91 a barrel. And inversely, right, if you're looking for a crash on oil, then yes, Brent can very well go to that 78.6. Now again, I'm of the opinion, of my personal opinion, again, this remains my personal opinion, that we are in a season where we're seeing bear traps, right? Everything that is currently oversold, right, from past data should be picking up in value, right? And oversold meaning there's an extension towards the downside that doesn't look natural, it's not good price action, right, based on past data. I believe we're in massive bear traps across the board. So I'm looking at long commodities, so long on oil, long on gold, long on silver, and Bitcoin and crypto, right, as a whole. Dollar falls, and essentially that will, so at the moment, what is crypto waiting for? Right, let's just talk about this, because we do get a lot of questions about this specifically. What is crypto waiting for to make this massive break? And I've broken down crypto analysis in quite a bit of detail in terms of Bitcoin. But what is crypto waiting for, right? We've seen in the past, crypto's done the, spike, the move back to the 78.6, the pullback to the 88.2, the next move, pullback to the 88.2, next move, pullback to the 88.2, next move, pullback to 78.6, 88.2. Right, this is just the nature of markets, right? Again, when we talk about recessions being normal, recessions being natural, this is what happens, right? This is how it works. This is how the world works. This is how humans grow and businesses grow. And if you don't know what Fibonacci is, guys, dive into it. It'll be part of our next academy that we're uploading and editing as we speak. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is everything's seasonal, right? So dollar loses value. That's all crypto is waiting for right now. Crypto is just waiting to point at normal fiat-based currency, government currency systems and say, you see, we told you. This is why decentralized finance is the future, because you guys can't manage money. You print money to solve problems, causing inflation and crash your own economy. Recessions come because of greed. Recessions come because of printing money. And that is something that crypto solves. Yes, crypto obviously can harbor illegal and illicit transactions. But as with anything that's new that comes, criminals and fraud and whatever, they would look at this new technology to take advantage. But what I'm trying to say is that if we see a massive dollar fall across the board, right, that is exactly what crypto is waiting for, to be a proof of concept, right? To say, you see, this is why the blockchain exists, to solve this specific problem in this specific area. Now, yes, there's a lot of people who've been hurt by it, right? I knew people that were asking me in the 60s, in the $60,000 range, you know, Dane, should I get involved in crypto? And I said, no, it was too high, right? It was skyrocketing. So has crypto hurt a lot of people? Yeah, obviously, if you bought crypto at $60,000 a coin, you're feeling pain at this point, right? You lost a ton of your portfolio. But again, crypto comeback, I think, is coming, right? I can't say, it's not my job to predict when or how that will look, but ultimately, we need to see some sort of weakness on the dollar to look for a long. And that is why you'll also start to see Federal Reserves will start to get very serious about speaking about decentralized finance now. Why? Because they need to get in front of it, right? They need to get in front of it. If we look at Jamie Dimon, right? One of the biggest hedge funds on Wall Street, he called cryptocurrency basically just a giant Ponzi scheme. Why? Because it undermines everything that Wall Street tries to do to make money. So again, when you see some of the wealthiest people on earth for it and or against it, there's some truth, there's some obviously ambiguity we need to obviously get through and dive through together, but keep your eyes on it, because we're about to see massive things coming, right? With recessions become opportunity, with opportunity, when you're prepared, preparation meets opportunity, boom, that's where we see massive things. That's what it's all about. Okay, so let's quickly have a look at what US30 is doing whilst I'm busy rambling. Let's make sure she's not running away from us and I'm caught. Okay, so again, this is why we deal with pending orders, right? If we're starting to see that break like we saw yesterday. So if we see that breakthrough support this afternoon, I'm pretty happy to hang my hats on US30 for this trading week and short it and park my dreams for that long till next week, or until markets, you know, come to their senses. I'll be pretty happy to do that. So what do we want to wait for this afternoon is just have a look at, are we getting some sort of break in structure that will help us to look at that short? For me, I would say just looking at this, and this is a very close look, and again, you can lose a little bit of detail by looking too closely, so perspective is everything. But for me, you know, that band over there, that break on that price over there would be what I'd want to wait for on US30 to potentially get short. Now remember, we are very close to 4 o'clock. We're 2 minutes past 4. We do sometimes see market reversals happen 30 minutes after New York Stock Exchange. So please just keep that in mind when looking at volatile moves. Let's have a look on a minute. Is the RSI going to give us any sort of indication? Any sneak peek? Let's see. RSI, what are you telling us? Okay, so RSI pretty much, it's not giving us a lot to work with here. Yeah, I don't see anything on the RSI that really interests me here. And specifically, the only thing I'm really seeing